polls that show that Americans say, the vast majority of Americans say that once they're allowed to go back to restaurants, hotels, places like that they won't because they don't feel safe. So are you worried that until there is a vaccine, people really won't come back to some of these businesses?
Of course we worry about it, and we see some of the same polling, and we're talking to our customers by the tens of millions, hundreds of millions. Last year we served 180 million people, so we have a pretty big and extensive customer base. What we're hearing from our customers is that they're desperate to get back out and move around and see their country again and see their friends again. They obviously want to do it in a safe and healthy way. And so I think our customers are saying they're looking for the government, both state and federal government, to focus on testing so that they understand, what real mortality rates are, as work has been done with the Stanford test and the data in Norway and other data points that are coming out as the administration and states do more and more testing. I think our customers, what I'm hearing from our customers, they're starting to understand, while every life is precious, that the reality of the ultimate mortality rates here is probably much, much lower than had been estimated. And if they are old and infirm, that they have great risk, and those people should be protected. But if they're not, they have probably are at a very low risk. They're then looking for, which is why we launched this week Clean Stay, and while we're working with our industry, they want to know that people are being responsible, right? They want to know that we are doing the testing, the social distancing, that we are using protocols and PPE in protecting our employees so that they can protect customers, that we're being very thoughtful and sensible, that when they do come and stay with us or they enter into a restaurant, where we've always had good hygiene, as you heard earlier, we are, our people are trained to have good hygiene, but we up our game so that when they're with us, they feel safe. So I think it's a combination of those things that are happening, of broadly understanding the real risk that they have, and then mitigating that risk even further by the specific actions that we all take in our places of work with our team members and thus ultimately with our customers.
I haven't seen that because I will tell you, to me, I think there's a tremendous pent-up demand for people. I see it in Texas where they have lines going into stores, and a couple of restaurants, I guess, opened, and they literally have long lines. I think there's a tremendous pent-up demand. I've been at the White House now for many months, and I'd like to get out. As much as I love this is the most beautiful house in the world, in my opinion. But I think there's just a great demand to get out and get our country going again, and that includes going to restaurants and hotels. And I think you're going to find, Chris, that you're going to do a lot of business that you're not even thinking about. I'm seeing it, I feel it, and I've felt a lot of things over the years, including, I think I can win for president, and frankly, I really feel that next year is going to be a very good year economically. We're going to be back in business, so we'll have to see. I mean, only time will tell, but there's a lot of good feelings, and a lot of good decisions have been made by a lot of very talented people. So I'm feeling very much that it's going to be very successful.
For you, Mr. President, do you want the FDA to issue an emergency use authorization for remdesivir?
Well, it's a big thing what happened just recently, where they came up with something that has a very substantial percentage. It's a building block. Tony said it today. I thought it was very well expressed. He said that's a building block. That means that's a very substantial chunk of a step. And that's a building block to the ultimate step. That's a big building block when you hear, I guess, 31%. So it was very good. Yeah, I want them to go as quickly as they can. Stephen Hahn, Dr. Hahn, has been incredible at the FDA. He's getting things done at record time. There's never been anything like it. And yeah, we want everything to be safe, but we would like to see very quick approvals, especially with things that work. Thank you.
Mr. President, Mr. Bolton and others suggested that they'd like to see federal guidelines for some of these companies, explicit federal guidelines for some of these companies and factories opening back up. So far, you've given a lot of discretion to companies in the states, but is that somewhere where you'd be willing to step in and do more?
Well, we will step in if we see something wrong. We have given discretion to the governors. I've become very well acquainted with the governors. You have some very talented governors, frankly, and probably some that are a little bit less talented. That's okay, but it's a very talented group of people. And they're working with us. We're helping them, whether it's ventilators or swabs that they can't get, we're there. And we've taken in billions and billions of dollars worth of equipment and distributed to the states. And, you've heard the calls, and we have no problems. We're doing really well, and we're backing them up. But we want the governors to call those shots. If we see something that we don't like or that's bad or that's unsafe, we'll stop it immediately, okay?
Might the new normal look like 2-3 years from now? Say restaurant workers, hotel workers, might they be required to wear masks, that sort of thing? What would the new normal look like?
No, I don't see that. I see the new normal being what it was 3 months ago. I think we want to go back to where it was. I mean, when I look at a baseball game, I want to see people right next to each other. I don't want to see 4 seats in between every person so that the stadium becomes 25% of its original size. No, I want to see the NFL with a packed house. I don't want to see NFL with 3 seats in between people. No, I want to go back to where it was. That's where we're going to be. Look, this thing will pass, and when it passes, that'll be a great achievement. And we've done a very good job. It's far too many people, needlessly, because it could have been stopped at the point of origin. And somehow we weren't helped by whether it's World Health Organization or China, whoever. We weren't, they didn't do what should have been done. Very sad, actually, for the whole world. It's a very sad thing. It's a very, very sad event. It's a war against the invisible enemy, and we're now on the other side, and I think what I want to see is I want to see where it was. And I think we have a chance to have an incredible year next year. Now, not if somebody's going to come in like our opponents and raise taxes all over the place. They want to raise taxes. That will kill something very fast. We have something that's very special. We built the greatest economy in the world, and I want to get that back as soon as possible. I think we can start getting it back very, very quickly. Look at the stock market today. When it has that kind of Kevin and Larry, when it has that kind of Josh, when it has that kind of a bounce today, as much as it went up, but I think it set almost a record over the last week, right? It's almost a record. And this is in the midst of something. Now, we're not in the midst. They feel we're at the other side of it, or you wouldn't be seeing numbers like this. But so we're at 24,000, maybe even a little above 24,000, and we were at 29,000. We never broke 30 on the Dow. So that's tremendous. But what it really does, you have a lot of very smart people. That means that they're looking to the future, number one. And I look at it as jobs. I also look at it as sort of guidance. It's a guidance in a sense. It's the stock market. Who would think you could have a stock market at 24,000 after we've gone through the worst pandemic since 1917? That's over 100 years. It's the worst since 1917. So I think that's a great indicator. There are a lot of very smart people that understand that world very well, and they have a lot of confidence in it. And that's some of the companies that we hear, public companies, but it means jobs. It also means not only guidance, it means some people, and I know some great investors, people really have a lot of confidence in what's going forward. And that's what I see, and that's where I want it to be, okay?
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you open to making a deal with the Postal Service that would allow it to borrow from Treasury without raising its shipping rates, its package rates?
Well, you have to raise the rates on packages because they're losing a fortune on packages. They're losing anywhere from $2 to $3 or $4 a package every time they deliver, so it's not fair. And it's not fair to the people that work at the Postal Service. You have some of these companies, the internet retail, you look at that, and they drop millions of packages on the post office. The post office delivers a package, and every time they deliver a package, they lose from $2 to $5 a package. And what kind of a business is that? And you could never replicate the post office. The post office is massive, but they've got places in little sections of our country that no company could ever go to, that took hundreds of years to build the post office. And when you look at the size of it and you compare it to companies, it's much bigger than companies. I mean, much, much bigger. There's no company that's the size of that. No, we want to stabilize the post office, and the way you do that is these companies are going to have to pay more, not the people. We're not looking for the people, but the companies are going to have to pay a percentage of that loss. You can't do that. The government shouldn't have to do it. I think the post office wouldn't it be great if it could, after so many decades, break even? But we're making a lot of people rich and a lot of companies rich by subsidizing these companies. On top of that, they don't pay the same taxes as a retail store. It's very unfair to the retailers. You look at these stores, the retail stores are being just clobbered, and there are so many disadvantages. But no, when we deliver a package at the post office, every package it delivers, they lose a lot of money. And that's not fair. Those companies should pay for it. Steve?
The President, over a year ago, asked us to chair a postal task force to look at restructuring. A year ago, we didn't have any Board of Governors. We now have a Board of Governors that's overseeing it. They're conducting a search. We look forward to hearing the results of the new postmaster, and we think this is a business, and the people at the post office will have a terrific opportunity.
And we're protecting our post office, by the way, and we always will. But we want our post office to be successful. We don't want it to be a laughing stock and a stupidly run organization the way it's been for so many decades now. It's ridiculous. And then we make other people rich. We make other people rich because we're willing to deliver packages at a fraction of the cost, so other people gain by it. And by the way, and you're hurting a lot of other people because you're hurting retailers. You look at stores where the stores they have to pay rent and taxes and all sorts of things that these companies don't have to pay. So it's not a fair situation. We want to take care of our taxpayers, and we want to take care of, very, very importantly, the people that work at the post office. Yes, please.
Mr. President, if there is another round of aid for the states and communities, are you going to try to restrict that aid from going to sanctuary cities and states?
I don't think you should have sanctuary cities if they get that kind of aid. You know, if you're going to get aid to the cities and states for the kind of numbers you're talking about, billions of dollars, I don't think you should have sanctuary cities. And by the way, the people that have sanctuary cities, they don't like it. I think politicians like it a lot more. I go to California, I go to lots of different places, and I have people with a very liberal bent saying they don't like sanctuary cities. They don't want criminals to be in sanctuary. They want security. They want safety, and you know they want borders too. They don't want people pouring across into our country. And you know, I was there a long time ago. The wall is up to 175 miles built now, and the numbers are incredibly good because all of that 175 miles, nobody comes through. Nobody even comes close to coming through, unless you have a climber of Mount Everest. But even they don't. It's not even easy for them, Josh. So it's been good. But very important for you. We want our farmers to be able to get the help, and we work it so it's actually easier for them to get in. You know, they've been taking some people that they've had for years and years that come with the crops and everything else, and that really have been great for the farmers. And we want that to continue and actually continue at an easier pace. We're working it so it comes in, so that kind of help can come in even easier, which I think you have to tell your people.
Could I just follow up and
Yes,
ask explicitly, will you seek to prevent that next round of aid from going to sanctuary states and cities?
Well, number one, we shouldn't have to pay anything anyway, because all they do is make it very hard for law enforcement. So that's number one. But I think in the bigger picture, I don't see helping cities and states if they're going to be sanctuary, because all sanctuary means to me is it's protecting a lot of criminals and others, many people, but there are criminals. And, you know, you write about it all the time. I see stories every day where somebody's being totally protected. ICE can't get to them. Law enforcement can't get to them. You look at law enforcement hates sanctuary cities. We want a safe country. We don't want people that are criminals and criminals from other countries in many cases protected, and you can't get to them. And then we're supposed to make massive payments to those states to bail out what they've done wrong over a 25-year period. So we'll see. That'll be a subject that will be discussed, certainly, sanctuary cities. I think maybe it was brought up yesterday, and I made the statement, and people were surprised to hear it, but they shouldn't be surprised. Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, when would you like the country to fully be reopened to the way it was before, as you mentioned?
Well, we talked about it, and very strongly Josh mentioned safety, have to have safety. But at the same time, people want this country open. The people here want it open. And there is a danger to too much being confined to a house or an apartment or wherever you live. You can't, we got to start moving along. And with all of the testing we're doing, with all of the things we're doing, you can do this now. And governors are actually, a lot of pressure is being put on governors right now by the people in their states. They want to get it open, and that's what you want. That's what we all want. And with all of the procedures and safety, we've learned a lot about this hidden enemy. We've learned a lot. And there'll be pockets of fire, and we'll put them out. We'll put them out very, very quickly. But, you know, during this period of time, I think we've really learned a tremendous amount about how to handle it. Nothing easy, but we want safety. So we want safety, and we want economic, where people can go and make a great living and go back to living the way, I mean, you had people, we had wonderful people in yesterday where the business was going to be lost, other than what we did, Steve, with the great programs that we set up. Their businesses were gone. One man, he was a chef with 5 children, and his mother lived with him and his wife, and he lost his job for the first time in his life. Some of you were there. And you had others that were equally so. It was pretty amazing. I thought it was pretty amazing display of what we've done to help a lot of people. And you have millions of people like that, millions that have been helped where they wouldn't have a job right now, and where the small business would have closed. Now, these are big businesses, but the small businesses would have closed. And I think it's great when WIN, which is a terrific group of people, but when Matt says that, we're supporting all of the people, I know what that is. That's a big, you practically a full staff, and you have no income. That's a big thing. That's a great thing. And I hope you're rewarded for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No, it's a tremendous thing.
Is there a target date?
Well, yeah, its target date is as soon as possible. Some states are already open. I mean, they're opening up rapidly. We have a number of them opening up on Monday. We have a number of them opening up sooner than that, as you know, or at least partially opening. Some of them even even with a very strong bent toward opening, they're opening up where they'll open a certain amount here, restaurants at 25%, then going to 50%, then ultimately we want to be back to where we're 100%. We don't want. I had one restaurant owner come up to me and said, "Sir, I'm going to be opening up, but if I distance too much, I have 50% of the restaurant I had." I said, "And you'll also have a worse atmosphere." We want to be back where we can have. We want it to be the way it was, because the way it was is the right way. We can't have somebody with a half a restaurant. You understand? He had 175 seats. Now he's got half. That's not going to pay the rent or whatever. Same thing with an owner. I was on the phone with the commissioners and some of the owners of sports, of big-time sports, and he was talking almost like he was going to have 2 or 3 seats in between everybody that was there. And I said, you're not going to have to do that for that long. You're going to be back. He said, really? Oh, really? He was like, I don't want people to get used to this, because this virus is going to be gone. And when it's gone, you want to get back to normal. You're not going to have a stadium that's 30% the size of what it was 3 months ago. If I watch Alabama play LSU, I don't want to see 20,000 people instead of 120,000 people. We want it to be the way it was. Now, we've got to wait till it's gone, and it will be gone, and we've done a lot to get rid of it. But we want to open our country. The people want this country open.
So this 100% scenario you're laying out, going back to the way it was, is that before the vaccine or after the vaccine?
So a lot of progress is being made on a vaccine, but you never know, right? You never know. With SARS, they didn't come up with a vaccine, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they do. I will say this, I don't think there was the same effort, because a lot of people don't know what SARS is, and some people do. But they do come up with vaccines. I mean, you look at what's happened as an example with Ebola, with AIDS, with others that have been so incredibly successfully if not eradicated, certainly it's been incredible what some of, with what these people that I'm dealing with right now, like Gilead today, with, what they came up with as an example, that's far ahead of schedule. So we're looking for vaccines, we're looking for therapeutics also. I mean, I think therapeutics right now, if you gave me both, I'd rather have the therapy, because that, makes people better right now. Whether it's helping them along or makes them better almost instantly, we have to see. But there's tremendous work on therapeutics going on, and I think we're having some good results. One of them was Gilead today.
100% the full restaurants, the stadiums, theoretically could come
Well,
before the vaccine.
I'm not relying on that. I hope that's going to happen. Johnson & Johnson, Oxford, you hear a lot of very good stories. I'm hearing them really firsthand, good stories, very promising, but they have to test it. Maybe it's not safe. Maybe it eradicates it, but it's not safe. And, they have to do testing with vaccines, whereas the therapeutics, it goes a lot quicker in terms of the process. No, if you don't have a vaccine, if the virus is gone, we're like we were before. But having a vaccine would be a great thing. And I think we're going to get there in this case, just based on what I know, but we'll see what happens. Look, the Gilead research has been, that's gone so fast. That's gone at a level of speed that nobody's ever seen before. And that's a stepping stone. So I think they're doing very well. But no, I want to get back with or without. But I want, obviously we have to wait till it's gone. It will be gone. And we want to be back to where we were. Yes.
Without a vaccine, sir, why do you think the virus will just be gone?
It's going to go. It's going to leave. It's going to be gone. It's going to be eradicated. And it might take longer. It might be in smaller sections. It won't be what we had. And we also learned a lot. Again, if you have a flare-up in a certain area, if you have I call them burning embers, boom, we put it out. We know how to put it out now, but we put it out. And now we're equipped. Now we have more ventilators than anyone thought was possible. I mean, we're doing a tremendous service for the world right now. We're giving ventilators. We're making hundreds of thousands of ventilators in, I believe, 9 different plants that made other products, in some cases cars, in some places other things. These companies, General Motors and Ford in another way, and GE, so many companies, Honeywell, they've stepped up. 3M has been terrific. They've stepped up like nobody's ever seen before. And the job they're doing is great. And I'll tell you, I think the job that they're doing on vaccines and on therapeutics has been great too. We'll see. We'll let you know about that in a little while. Please. Anybody else?
Yeah, Mr. President, oil's up today, partially on reports that the Treasury Secretary and others may have...
What is it up to?
Depends on which, but it's about $25. But on the suggestion that the Treasury Secretary and others may have presented you with a plan for government assistance to the oil companies.
Well, we're not going to let our oil companies go and get in trouble. It's not their fault that they got hit by 50% less volume in one day. One instant, all of a sudden, these very great companies are employing all these people. So I'm talking to Steve, and we just saved the airlines. The airlines were having the best year they've ever had. And then all of a sudden they're like out of business. We can't let that happen. So we saved the airlines. That's done. We're saving other companies and industries. And I would say, Steve, maybe you can talk to it, but I think the oil industry is one of the top on the list.
So we're looking at a lot of different strategies. We have a dedicated team combined of people at Treasury and people at the Department of Energy. As I've said before, this is not going to be a bailout of shareholders, but this is going to be supporting the national security issue. I would just comment the Secretary of Energy has done an extraordinary job of taking in oil in the strategic reserve and being paid for the storage capacity in oil. We're also exploring potentially having the ability to store another several 100 million barrels. So we're looking at lots of different options. We're in touch with lots of people around the world, and the President is determined that we protect the national security interest and the jobs.
Announcement this week about...
Well, we had a very interesting thing because we had a lot of capacity, meaning you can fill it up in the national strategic reserves, and it wasn't full. And we made a great deal. If you would have told us that we could have had that filled up, or it's on the way to being filled up, at the kind of pricing that we're talking about, I would have said, you have to be kidding. We're talking about 19, I'm not sure Chris is going to be happy about this because it doesn't pertain to the hotel business, don't get scared, but, we're talking about like 1952 pricing. It's unbelievable. It's prices that are so low. And in some cases, we're storing oil and getting paid for storage because we have a tremendous capacity for it. So what's happened with the strategic reserves is incredible.
And additional aid might be announced this week, or do you have a timeline for that?
Say it.
Additional aid might be announced this week, or do you have a timeline for it?
On that?
For oil companies?
Well, you mean a plan
Yeah.
to help them out?
Yes.
I would say shortly. I mean, right now, we're dealing with some of the big ones, but the big ones are very strong. They've been very strong over the years. I think that they're not going to have the problem. But we have a lot of great people and a lot of great jobs in Texas and Oklahoma and North Dakota and other states that are great. It's energy. It's not, I don't even call it oil. I call it energy. This is the backbone of the world, really. You can talk all of the green. I'm all for green. But the green can't power these massive factories that are being built in this country. It just can't. The windmills aren't going to be able to do it, and solar's not going to be able to do it. I love solar, but it's not going to be able to do it. And, we're getting it for the right price, but we're not going to we're energy independent. We're not going to let our energy industry down. We're not going to let them, and it's not our fault. It's not their fault. But we're not going to let anything happen to them, so we're working on that very hard. I think protecting energy and energy independence, to me, that's a very big part of what happened. Energy has really helped me turn this country into the economic power that it's been, and we're not going to let that go. And sure, it's going to have a couple of bad years. We have a tremendous oversupply. The reason we have the oversupply, though, number one, it was a very efficient business. And but the reason we have it is because the demand got cut in half one day by this plague. One day, all of a sudden, take a look at the roads. It goes from packed highways, everybody traveling, going all over, to no cars on the road. I mean, that was 25, 30% right there. But then there's other things, factories that aren't working right now because of this. We did a great thing last night, using the powers that we have to make sure that the processors and all of the delivery of our food chain, that it was protected and safe. And those people, we were on the phone with all of them this morning, pretty much all of them, as you probably know. They were cheering, literally cheering over the phone. We did some good moves, not money moves so much as common sense moves, because they were being hurt by stupidity. And we have them really back online. So I think that we put out, that's called burning embers too. We put out a fire. So there'll be plenty of meat and pork and everything that you want, yeah.
And Mr. President, you said you were anxious to get out of the White House. Might we see some travel in the next week or so?
I think so. I think I'm going to Arizona next week, and we look forward to that. And I'm going to, I hope, Ohio very soon. And we're going to start to move around, and hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll have some massive rallies and people will be sitting next to each other. I can't imagine a rally where you have every fourth seat full, every 6 seats are empty for every one that you have full. That wouldn't look too good. No, I hope that we're going to be able to do some good old-fashioned 25,000 person rallies where everyone's going wild because they love our country. Okay?
Do you expect that to happen?
Well, I'm going to Arizona, and that's a little bit different. That's having to do with industry, because it's too soon for the big everybody get together and stand next to each other crowds. But that'll be next week. I don't know. It'll depend. It also depends on states. You have different states. Some states are really in great shape now, and some states will be in great shape. But a lot of progress has been made. It's pretty incredible. Even if you look in New York, I spoke with Governor Cuomo at length today, and they're on that other side of the curve, a lot less. It's been hit very hard. It's New York, and you probably would expect that. But They're on the other side of that curve. The bed usage and the people coming to hospitals is way down, much lower than it was. So a lot of very positive signs are happening. Okay.
So President, do you expect to be able to hold rallies before the election? Do you
I
think
hope so. I hope so. Look, we have a tremendous pent-up demand. They love what we're doing. They don't want to have taxes raised. They don't want to have stupid things happening. They like the trade deals. We've made great trade deals. I mean, the greatest trade deals ever made in this country. And that's what they want. And we have a lot of them that were lined up and ready to be done, right, Kevin? We have deals that were lined up with countries ready to be done that were so good for our country, so good for our workers. And then this scourge came along, and, you know, that's the last thing people are thinking about right now. It's, you know, we put them on hold for a little while. But no, I hope to have, I hope to see football games and baseball games and basketball. Now for basketball, you're going to have a little bit of a time. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they'll be able to play sort of toward the finals or the playoffs or whatever they're doing. I saw baseball's doing something very unusual. I don't know if I agree with that. I'd like to see the Yankees play at Yankee Stadium. I see they have some ideas for baseball that are very different. I guess I'm a traditionalist, but I think they'd be able to play at Yankee Stadium with obviously smaller crowds, and then the crowds would start to build as things get to be a little bit better. But no, I think you're going to see some big things happening. And again, this is going away. This is going away. I think we're going to come up with vaccines and all, but this is going away. And when it's gone, we're going to be doing a lot of things. And again, you have to look other areas. There are areas, you know, we all look at New York and we see New York and New Jersey and some of these very high density places where they're doing a very good job. It's just, you know, it's not easy. But you have areas that are really at a very low point and really heading, I always say heading south quickly. And that's what we want. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's working very good. How about one more? Anybody else?
Just on that point of this going away, not to belabor the point, but isn't it going away because people are staying in their homes and people are not traveling, and once they come back out, there's no evidence that it would go away?
Maybe that's it. And I cannot tell you how dedicated the people of this country have been in terms of that. Yeah, you know one thing, if you stay in your home, you're not catching it. If you stay in your place and you don't go out, and you know, which is what people were doing, but they want to go out now. They want to get back, and they want to do what they have to do. And some of the facts are coming out, and we did all the right moves. I tell you, we wouldn't do, we were talking to Mike before. If we didn't do what we did, you would have had 1 million people die, maybe more, maybe 2 million people die. And if you think that we'd be at 65 or 70 or 60 or whatever the final number would be, 1 is too many. I always say it, 1 is far too many. This should have never been allowed to happen. Should have been stopped a long time ago before it ever got here or to other countries. But if you really think about it, you could have had, I take a look at Elmhurst Hospital, or I take a look at some of these places that I know growing up in Queens, and I know Elmhurst Hospital, I know these places very well, like the back of my hand, and you'd see body bags lying all over the hallways and outside and going into refrigerated trucks. And multiply that number by 10 or 20, if we didn't do what we did, it wouldn't be acceptable, it wouldn't be sustainable. Nobody would have accepted that. It would have been a terrible thing. We've done it right. I can't believe how incredible the American people have been, because they went out and they really did this, Chris. You know, when you think they went out and they did what they had to do. You know, every once in a while a country like Sweden will be thrown out, or Brazil. Now Brazil's having a hard time because they're having a hard time. But Sweden, the people in Sweden, they're not running around and shaking hands and hugging and kissing each other. You know, the bars are closed and the people are staying in the house. The prime minister doesn't have to say in Sweden, stay in your house. The people stay there automatically. And, you know, they're using that as an example. But they've been hit hard. But again, you call it automatic. I mean, it's automatic distancing, it's automatic protection. But places were closed, the bars were closed. You can't stand at the bars, you can't do certain things. You know, No, what we did was, what we did is a great tribute to this country. But if we lose 65,000 people, it's so crazy to say it, it's just so horrible. But if we lose 65,000 people, and instead of that going the other route, we would have lost 1 million or 1.5 million or 2 million, it's possible. It's possible that you lost more. But could you imagine, look how horrible it is to lose 65 and then multiply that times many, many times. That would not be sustainable. So I think with all of that, I want to just thank everybody, and I want to thank these business folks are just tremendously talented people. People have no idea how talented they are, the job they do, and we're getting our way back, I think, much faster than people think, and I think it's going to be a much more successful launch than anybody would have thought. I really think next year is going to be a tremendous year, and I think the fourth quarter is going to be, Larry, I think the fourth quarter is going to be fantastic. I can feel it.
I feel great. Thank you.
Yeah, I can feel the demand. It's going to be really fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us and choosing us as your stream choice. I'm even losing my voice here. Thank you so much for choosing us as your stream of choice here at Golden State Times. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and you also click that notification bell. It helps us out immensely. And that way for tomorrow's press briefing, press conference, or whatever President Trump wants to do tomorrow, you'll get notified, hopefully, by YouTube. So make sure that you click that subscribe button and that notification bell. But if you want to get notified by us instead of YouTube, all you have to do is send us a text message with the word Trump Live to the number 555-888. Once again, that number is 555-888. I'll be putting it up on your screen right now so you can check it out for yourself here. Here we go. And it is Trump Live to the number 555-888. And then we will send you a notification instead of YouTube. So instead of YouTube, we send you the notification and we tell you, hey, we're live, or we're live in 5 minutes, or this is coming very soon. Any updates or anything like that regarding live streams only. So we will not spam you full of messages, all day. We will not do that. What we would do is whenever there's a live stream, we will send you a notification once we are live. So if you're interested in getting that type of notification, all you have to do is send a text message with the word Trump Live to the number 555-888. 555-888. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter if you want to stay up to date on everything that is going on in politics at Gold State Times.